Now you're watching Gearz, brought to you by Ram Truck.
Hey, welcome to Gearz. You know, last week we jumped into a project that grabbed everybody's attention because we started building a supercar called the SLC from Superlite Cars. Now, the reason being is that every time you pick up a magazine like Car and Driver, Road and Track, watch a show like Top Gear, they're talking supercar this, supercar that. And the general consensus is you can't afford one, and you sure as heck can't build one yourself. Well, we're here to prove that consensus wrong with this car. Now, the idea here was to go a step beyond a sports car like the Banshee or even this Cobra, and to show you that with today's technology and aftermarket, it's possible for a guy to build an exotic mid-engine car that would run safely over 200 miles an hour, but at the same time compete in style and looks with the $300,000 or $400,000 exotic from Ferrari, Porsche, or Lamborghini. The best part is we wanted to do it with an American-made car that a guy can put together for around the price of a new Z06 Corvette.
Doesn't do my business any good if the car's languishing in a garage for 20 years. That's just the typical kit car, too hard to build, it's never going to be done. These cars need to be driven, these cars need to be finished. So we had to take all of those things into account in designing the chassis and making the car a really usable package.
Now, we've already talked about the all-aluminum semi-monocoque chassis underneath the SLC, and the billet suspension components, the steering, and the brakes that come with it. Now it's just a matter of putting the thing together. Okay, as you probably guessed, the SLC comes with its own special aluminum gas tank, kind of odd-shaped, because it fits into this area here that's kind of odd-shaped behind the seats. Now, if you'll tell the guys at Superlite what kind of engine you're using, how you're going to set it up, they'll weld on the inlets and the outlets and the bracketry and all the bungs that you're going to need, so you just need to get it in place and plumb it up. Now, everywhere where the tank is going to come in contact with the frame, we're going to use some of this body-to-frame webbing that we got from Vintiques because we don't want any metal-to-metal contact. That's some gooey stuff. Got to go all the way over. Okay, the next piece to go on is this big aluminum panel that mounts in front of the fuel tank and seals it from the passenger compartment. Now, just as before, you're going to have to drill and tap some holes, do some fitting to get it just how you want it. Now remember, with any kind of a project like this, you're going to have this car together and apart numerous times as you lay it out and build the car. Like I said before, Superlite doesn't build the car for you. They just give you all the right pieces for you to do it. Somebody put some monkey bars in the way. All right, now it is time to mount the seats. And the SLC comes with these low-profile racing-style seats that are designed to grip your body and give you plenty of support during hard cornering. Now, it's up to you to decide where the seat's going to mount front to rear and how much rake there's going to be in it. So be prepared to spend some time here tweaking it, making it just how you want it to be. Now, obviously, there is a little bit of a width limitation to these seats. So if your butt is wider than 17 inches, you're going to have a problem fitting in this car.
Hey.
What are you doing?
Once you establish the rake of the seat back, special brackets are what hold the seat in place. All right, when you go to mount your seats, you want to make sure and push them toward the center to give yourself the most headroom as possible in the cockpit. However, if you're going to be using a center console like this, you need to mock it into place so you don't go too far into the center and not have any elbow room. Also, you want to leave a little bit of a gap back here between the seat and this aluminum panel, not only for upholstery on the back of the seat, but also for an upholstered panel that will cover this. About an inch should be plenty. Armed with your measurements, you can begin building your seat frames. You start by trimming your brackets to fit your seat. Then cut some steel tubing to length and some threaded rod to go inside of it. Now just put it all together. The steel tubing supports the side plates and keeps them square. The threaded rod gives you the ability to tighten it down for a solid assembly. Finally, drill your holes in the fiberglass seat. Put it all together and fit it in the car. The pedals are next, and the SLC comes with a Tilton Racing pedal assembly that's complete with Wilwood master cylinders, reservoirs, lines, fittings, all the good stuff. Now, you will want to put this together down on a table here because there's not a whole lot of room under the dash. And once you get it together, then bolt it in the car. Exactly where you mount your pedals depends on how long your legs are. Now, the SLC will fit drivers up to 6'4", so you got some room to work with here. And once you've decided, just drill your holes and mount it in. The only trick here is trying to squeeze your body under the dash to drill the holes. Hey, will somebody hand me the drill? Hey, we're back, and deep in the middle of doing something that a lot of people said couldn't be done. Building an affordable, American-made supercar. Now, as you can see, the chassis is coming together, got the suspension in place, got the brakes laid out, got the fuel system in place. Now we're going to turn our attention to the one thing that everybody's wondering about, how the body goes together. Now, as you can see, this big old pile of parts out here can be a little intimidating, but it doesn't have to be if you put it together one piece at a time. And that's what we're going to do, starting with this one. The body of the SLC is constructed from high-quality hand-laid fiberglass to give you incredible strength and a very light weight. The main body section just drops in place over the chassis, and since it was pre-fit at Superlite, lining everything up is no problem. However, it still needs to be properly mounted, so there are some holes to drill and some fitting to do. Straight down. That's it. The sides of the car body and the ground effects panel bolt to the aluminum floor pan that extends out the sides. So you'll need to drill a series of holes and bolt it all together. Now, it's obvious that the body fits the chassis perfectly, but look how nicely it fits around the roll bar, the rear bulkhead, and the engine compartment. Yeah. Now, obviously, on a project like this, hardware is very important. And so far, everything that we've shown you has come with the car. But when you get to interior panels and some of the things that you're going to do to make the car unique, well, there's no way they can supply hardware for that. So you're going to need some. And the local Home Depot is not the place to get it. Because, first of all, they're going to kill you on price. Second of all, they're not going to have the good stuff. So all the other hardware that we're going to be using comes from Gardner Westcott, because you can buy this stuff in bulk, and check it out, they got some really nice stuff. They got socket heads, they got flat heads, they've got Allen heads, they've got button heads, steel, polished stainless steel, chrome plated. If you can't find the hardware you want here, you're not looking very hard. All right, the next piece to go on is this thing that is called the front splitter. And it basically acts as a floor underneath the nose to help direct airflow into the radiator and to the brakes. And it just bolts onto the front of the car using the supplied struts and hardware. All right, now we are ready for the nose piece. But before you put this on, you're gonna wanna spend a little bit of time fitting your marker lights, your headlights, and your headlight covers. And just like before, everything you need comes with the car, but you're gonna have to spend a little bit of time here fitting everything in place so it looks good. Now, one thing that you wanna remember, you don't ever wanna just drill a hole down in fiberglass and put a screw in there because it'll strip out the fiberglass and the piece will come off. What you want to do is drill your hole, slide in a machine screw, and use a nut and washer on the back side. With all the lights fit and set aside, you're ready to get the nose in place. Now to do this, all you do is set it down on the splitter in the main body. There are alignment pins in the body, so there's no guesswork here on how it should fit. And that looks good. Now it's just a matter of drilling some holes and bolting the splitter to the nose. Now this is starting to look like a supercar. Now if you need access to the radiator or the front suspension, all you do is pop the locks in the back, take the bolts off on the front, and lift the whole nose off for unlimited access to everything, which makes this an easier car to service than just about anything sitting in any driveway. Hey, welcome back to Gearz. If you have ever thought about building a kit car, but were afraid to do it because of all the horror stories you've heard about how bad they are, well, we are in the process of proving that that is no longer the case with some of the cars that are on the market these days. Now, the car we're building is called the SLC. It's from Superlite Cars, and this is a great time in a project because the body's on, the nose is on. This thing's starting to look like a car, which means it's time to fit the rear clip. Now, since this is a street legal car, you gotta have lights. And the rear deck lid comes with these tail lights that lay right into the pocket here and then are covered with this fiberglass panel for a nice, clean look. Now, just like the headlights, you're gonna have to do some drilling and fitting to mount these on. Okay, to mount this panel, we're gonna need some metal threads in the fiberglass for strength. We're gonna do that by installing these nutserts into the holes that we drilled. Now the key here is to not only make it look good, but to make it functional and easily serviceable.
Now, quick tip. Brought to you by E3 Spark Plugs. Born to burn.
Now, you might be wondering about this hole that we cut here. This is an access hole to allow the wiring for the taillights to come into the taillight pocket. Now, most people might figure you just stick a grommet in the hole and be done with it. But back here in the back, you got a lot of dust, you got a lot of garbage that's gonna be swirling around, and that grommet keeps the hole open. The best way to solve this is to get one of these firewall boots from Daystar. As you can see, it's got a large opening on one end and a grommet, and then it tapers down to a boot. That'll seal around your wiring and not let any trash in. The best part is, it just pops into the hole and you're done. If you'd like to learn more tips to make your life easier in the shop, check out the tips page on the website. This is also a good time to mount the plexiglass rear window using the same techniques and hardware that we used on the front headlight covers. All right, we're finally ready to put this section on, and it goes on even easier than the nose piece because it comes with a big hinge that mounts to the base of the section, and then that just fastens to the main brackets on the chassis. Now, just like the front section, you've got self-aligning pins in the main body, so all you need to do is spend a little bit of time adjusting things until it's fitting perfect. Now, there's no question we have a pretty exotic car going together here, but the one thing that makes a true exotic are the doors. I mean, they can't just be normal. And the SLC comes with special hinges that allow the doors to open up and forward, kind of a cross between a gull wing and a scissor door, which is very cool. Check it out. The doors themselves feature an outer panel and an inner panel all bonded together so they're nice and strong. And Superlite has a complete interior package, so you can put a really nice interior in this thing. Of course, we're gonna fit all this stuff later. Right now, we gotta fit these doors. Okay. That's it. Of course, most people know that over the years, kit cars have earned a horrible reputation of requiring hundreds of hours to fit bodies and fenders and doors. Fortunately, that's not the case with this car.
And now, Parts Bin, brought to you by Heartthrob Exhaust, where technology and craftsmanship come together.
You know, one thing that everybody is concerned about these days is fuel economy, whether you're driving a Ferrari or a hot rod or a Prius. And we get emails all the time from people wanting to know, how do you get better fuel economy? Well, one of the coolest products to come along in a long time is called the Fuel Smart. Now, this looks like a bunch of circuits and wires, but what it does is reads the fuel needs of your engine and supplies it. For example, you're on the throttle, you need full power, you got it. But as soon as you lift off the throttle, the Fuel Smart deactivates whatever cylinders you don't need, giving you up to 22% better fuel economy. Yeah, the best part is this is easy to put in and it's seamless in operation. In other words, you're not going to know what's on there because it works off of what you're doing with your foot. If you are serious about getting the best fuel economy that you can without sacrificing your power, Fuel Smart is a great way to start. Most people know how important it is to use anti-seize on your hardware when you're building a vehicle. But the reason most people don't use it is they don't want to mess with the tube or the tub. With something like this, you end up with more anti-seize on your hands and your clothes than you do on the bolts, so people don't use it. Well, Clever Innovations decided they were going to do something about that, and they came out with the bolt dip and brush. Now, this is a great idea. Check this out. It's basically a plastic container that has a threaded rod that runs down the center. Then you've got a threaded platform on the bottom, and a platform with holes on the top. This area here is filled with anti-seize. So when you rotate the top, it forces anti-seize up through the holes. Then when you need anti-seize on a bolt, you just stick the bolt in the hole or use the brush to put it exactly where you want it. Simple, clean, easy, great way to save time and money. If you are tired of dealing with this, toss it away and get the bolt dip and brush from Clever Innovations. Your nuts will thank you. When you're finally ready to take the plunge and start doing your own paint work, the question becomes, what gun do you buy? Because there's a lot of them out there and some are pretty cheap. But you'll use something like this one time, and then you're gonna throw it in the lake with a rock tied to it. Because just like with any tool, you get what you pay for, and you will never regret buying quality. Case in point, these SATA 4000 series spray guns. Take a look at this. These are lightweight, easy to use guns. They've got great controls. They're simple to take apart and clean, and they've got all kinds of different models to fit the style of painting you're gonna be doing. But the magic of a SATA gun is in the atomization of the paint, which makes the paint droplets so fine it's like shooting a blanket of fog that makes it easier to shoot, gives you faster coverage with less runs, it helps control metallics so they lay right and don't get blotchy, and it even speeds up your drying times. If Dirty Harry was a painter and not a cop, a SATA 4000 would be his .44 Magnum.
What are you working on? Brought to you by Royal Purple, the performance oil that outperforms. And Dake, if you have the dream, we have the tools.
Today's What Are You Working On comes from Garrett and Kelly Hessla from Tennessee, and they had a problem. They had 3 kids in a catering business, and they didn't want to use your typical SUV or station wagon. So they decided to get this, a 59 Chevy Suburban. Now, they were excited about it until they got it home and found this. Yeah, you can see there's a lot of rust in the body. But that didn't bother Garrett. As you can see, he just jumped right in and replaced all the rust with new metal. Then came the issue of how the vehicle was going to drive, because that old straight six and straight axle just weren't going to cut it. So, check it out. A subframe from a Camaro was located, and then the whole family was pressed into slave labor to make it happen. And according to Garrett, they loved doing it. After that, it was time for paint. And fortunately, Garrett's dad knew a little bit about that. Check it out. He helped him prep out the body and shoot on the red paint. Now, of course, once that's done, interior time. Once again, they did the whole interior themselves and decked it out just like they would want a catering vehicle to be. So what we've got here is a project that started in 2005 and continues to this day because they're never completely finished. But Garrett has got a lot more than a cool vehicle. He has ended up with this, a great Suburban, a great family, and memories that he will never be able to replace. So Kelly, Garrett, as a way of saying awesome job on this project, we're gonna deck you out with a whole bunch of stuff from our buddies at Royal Purple, clocks, shirts, fender covers, stools, all kinds of stuff to help deck out your shop. But that's not all. We also hooked up with our buddies at Dake, and we're gonna give you one of these arbor presses because I know you needed one of these during that last project. Now, for the rest of you guys, if you wanna get in on this, get your vehicle featured on the show, you gotta go on the website and submit it into What Are You Working On? We'll do our best to get it on the air, but make sure you send plenty of pictures and colorful commentary to help us tell the story. All right, that does it for today. It's time for you to get out there and make some memories. Time for me to go work on a supercar. We'll see you next week.